Hey, shalom, shalom, hayawam, tawab, la atam, za akyakam, yawam, man, rachagadol, Charlotte, which is good day. This is your brother Yawan from the GMS campus, Charlotte, Nachamatam, Kaya, Hamalakwat, Hashamayam, Kwa Ra, repent ye, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Kohalayam la, la abna, wa Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh, Bahasham, Racha, Kwadash, wa Mashana, la Zakwanyim, Nawa, wa Mala Akim Shah, Rachagadol, which is all praises to our Father Yahweh, which means He exists. Bahasham, in the name Yahweh Shai, He delivers in double honor to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. All right. So this is Ephesians chapter 5, and we'll give verse 29. It says, "For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourish and cherish it, even as the Lord the church." All right, because essentially this lesson is entitled "Love Starts at Home." All right, which when you go into true love, love is essentially fulfilling of the law, treating your neighbor as you would yourself, roughly paraphrasing. You see, going back into this again, Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 29, it says, "For no man ever hated his own flesh, but nourish and cherish it, even as the Lord the church." You see, so nobody hates themselves, or you see, but ultimately, to love your neighbor, you got to know how to love yourself. All right. And the law essentially gives us a love for self. All right. So that therefore we can understand how to treat our neighbor. You see, so loving ourselves. All right. And then loving our neighbor. It's essentially like loving ourselves, because essentially, having a brother, being a true brother, is being a strong wall. The word ak, is strong or strength. The cha, that goes into a wall. All right, so a brother is a strong wall, you see. So in order to be a brother's keeper, Salak, you ultimately have to understand how to love yourself. All right, which again, to reiterate, the law gives us a sense of purpose, direction, and self-esteem and love, to ourselves, so that therefore we can love our brother, So I'm just going to get some precepts. I don't want to Zah, Zabba Nayapa, Lord's will. This is a beautiful edification through the Spirit. All right. So I'm gonna get 1 Corinthians chapter 3, and we'll get verse 16, and it says, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of the Most High, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy, for the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are." You see, so things that would defile your temple, all right, essentially dibbling and dabbling in different philosophies, ideologies, all right, doctrines, all right, tattoos, all right, doing things that's adverse to the scriptures, all right, those things would defile the temple of the Lord, you see. So you wouldn't yourself, if you care about yourself, if you love yourself indeed, you wouldn't be doing those types of things, you see. So you wouldn't want to see your brother doing that, so being your brother's keeper, saying, hey, that will be wrong, or this or that, whatever it is, in the parameters of the scriptures, essentially you wouldn't want yourself doing that because you love yourself. So that therefore, you wouldn't want your brother doing that, So I'm gonna get this. This is Wayakwara, also Leviticus chapter 19, and we'll get verse 27, and it says, "Ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard." All right, when you ultimately go into these different ways and philosophies and stuff, like these are things that the heathens get into. All right, we as Israelites aren't supposed to get into things like this, because ultimately, if the scriptures are a manual, or a manual, or like a workbook or something like that. All right, so to speak. All right, Jake is or if you put it in reference to, like, all right, Jake's a creation. All right, with the creation, it's gonna come with a manual, so to speak. So Jake is the creation, all right, and it's a manual to you got your preventive checks and services, all right, and then you also have the things that you would do before and after, when you use that specific item or material or creation, So Jake's manual or rule book, all right, is the scriptures. All right. Whereas with the heathen, they can dibble and dabble in the different stuff that they do, i.e., Moab, they eat anything that fucking moves. All right, Esau, he does what he does. All right, but Jake can't get into stuff like that, you see, because ultimately it's going to be bad for that specific creation, being Jake. All right. So us as Israelites, we can't mar the corners of our beards or our heads. The Egyptians used to get into that. Which that's a custom that Jake does nowadays. All right, and essentially, it first and foremost, it puts sin into the nation. You see, and then secondly, it makes your hairline recede, which the Lord created us for a specific purpose. He created everything on us for a specific purpose. So by having the hairline receding, hey, that goes against how the Lord created us as a people, So 27 again, it says, Yea, shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of thy beard. All right, essentially getting into lineups and the edge ups. It says, Yea, shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. I am the Lord. And it's essentially defiling your temple. All right, and by not doing these things, it essentially gives you a sense of self-care. All right, which the law gives a sense of self-care, and then also the customs and the heritage that the Lord gave us. Well, essentially, in the ancient world, Jake took righteous pride in that. That made Jake feel good about himself. You see, so by feeling good about yourself, ultimately how to treat your neighbor, because you're gonna treat your neighbor as yourself. You see, so when we look in reference to like the curses and stuff like that, Jake, Jake doesn't know how to love himself. 2/3 of Jake doesn't know how to love himself. You see, so he treats his neighbor as he treats himself. All right, and that creates a mindset of division, the crabs in the bucket mentality. You see, that's not true love. It's not true love to yourself. It's not true love to your neighbor. All right. So nevertheless, continuing on, let's get Bon Sirach. Just land backing on that point. Bon Sirach chapter 14 and verse 11, it says, My son, according to thy ability, do good to thyself and give the Lord his due offering. Pretty much, do good to yourself, take care of yourself, ensure that, mentally you're stable, or ensure that physically you're stable, because these are the vessels of the Lord. All right, this is the Lord's temple. You see, so you're going to do good to yourself. All right, and it says, give the Lord his due offering. All right, essentially abide by the doctrine of his truth, paying, what we owe the Lord, that vow. All right, because when we enter this truth, we enter into a vow that we must keep, But at the same time, you're gonna do good to yourself. You see, so you know what it is to do good to yourself. You're gonna expect the same thing for your fellow citizen men, which would be the Israelites. All right, you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. All right, and those that are scattered abroad. So I'm gonna get another one. This is Mashal Yah, Proverbs chapter 14. Okay, and we'll get verse 26, and it says, And the fear of the Lord is strong confidence, and his children shall have a place of refuge. The fear of the Lord is a fountain of life, to depart from the snares of death. All right. So the fear of the Lord is a fountain of life. All right. That's ultimately showing how that's showing that you love yourself, because pretty much the fear of the Lord is the source of life. That's essentially where life starts at, having the fear of the Lord, because you're not going to do something that is stupid and it's going to get yourself killed. You see, so the expectation that you got for yourself, you're going to have the same expectation for your neighbor. All right. So if you slipping or falling somewhere, all right, you mentally like, all right, hey, I need to do better with this, but you see your neighbor, your brother doing the same thing, you're going to say, hey, you can make this adjustment here, okay? Because you going to make sure that you're on point, so you can do the same thing for your neighbor. Iron sharpeneth iron. All right, so that a man sharpeneth the countenance of his own friend, roughly paraphrasing. All right, so it says to depart from the snares of death. All right, the fear of the Lord. All right, that's where it starts at. All right, because ultimately it said to depart from the snares of death. Hey, Jake don't know what true love is. 2/3 of Jake don't know what true love is. Esau doesn't teach that in this society. It's not for him to teach it in this society. Ultimately, us as a people, back in the ancient world, we showed love to each other. You see, but due to the curses, Jake can't do that. You see, that's why in the kingdom, hey, it's gonna be nothing but love. Which the elect is going to be there first and foremost. All right, then 2/3 they'll be born back into the kingdom. They're going to have their head down. Yeah, 2/3 gonna have their head down for a certain period of time in the kingdom. You see, and ultimately the whole nation is going to show love to one another in the kingdom. You see, but nevertheless, continuing on, let's get Dabarium, Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 4, and it says, "But ye that did cleave unto the Lord, your power are alive, every one of you this day." All right, which that's pretty much the point. I'm gonna keep going. It says, "Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my power commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." All right, so ultimately by cleaving to the Lord, all right, we cleave to the Lord by keeping his ways. All right, seeking the Lord in his ways, because essentially this is our rule book, that the Lord has given us in the spirit, that essentially shows us the proper self care. All right, the manual, which when you go into manual, when we go into that word for manual, it says hand. Manual says of pertaining to the hand, done, made, used by the hand. It says man. It says manual exercise. You see, so also when you take the hand, it says manual, it says case of cover of a book. It says belonging to the hand that can be thrown by hand, strength, power. You see, so when we speak on the manual, you create with your hands. So Jake is a creation. Which this creation has to be maintained by a manual or a rule book. You see, so the scriptures is that rule book for Jake. And I'm gonna get that. This is Kohelet Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and we'll get verse 13, and it says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear the Most High and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." Hey, this is the whole duty of the Israelite man, woman, and child to, fear the Lord. All right. First and foremost, starting with that man. The Lord created the Israelites to fear him. So continuing on, let's get Exodus Shamwath chapter 20, and we'll get verse 17, and it says, "Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his house, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's." All right, and essentially, when we look at this captive type of mindset, hey, Jacob's coveting everything, and what does that create? That creates division. All right, and it also shows, it doesn't show a true love. It doesn't show love to yourself, and it doesn't show love to your neighbor. Because if it was true love for self, you if you had a true love for yourself, you would love yourself, and then also you would love your neighbor, because having that love is going to keep you from being destroyed. All right, I'm gonna get another one. This is Dabarium Deuteronomy chapter 22, and I'm gonna start at verse 1, and it says, "Thou shalt not see thy brother's ox or his sheep go astray, and hide thyself from them. Thou shalt in any case bring them again unto thy brother, and if thy brother be not nigh unto thee, or if thou know not him, or if thou know him not, then thou shalt bring it unto thine own house, and it shall be with thee until thy brother seek after it, and thou shalt restore it to him again. In like manner shalt thou do with his ass, and so shalt thou do with his raiment, and with all lost thing of thy brothers which he hath lost, and thou hast found, thou shalt thou do likewise. Thou mayest not hide thyself." You see, so if it's something that's your brother's, you're not gonna go, all right, take it, and then like, all right, this is mine, because that would be stealing. You're gonna return it to your neighbor in the same fashion that you got it. So continuing on, let's get Proverbs, Mashallah, chapter 27 and verse 23. All right, and it says, "Be diligent Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks and look well to thy herds. You see, so ultimately the scriptures give us a rule book, and it also gives us, by doing these things for yourself. All right, if you were unclean, all right, you gotta take a shower, or you gotta clean yourself. All right, and you'll be unclean till evening. You see, so that shows a love to yourself. All right. Also, like if you had herds or animals or flocks or sheep or ox or stuff like that, it said be diligent. So you're being diligent with those. All right, but then also those in your own household, you show a certain type of care to them, so you develop some type of relationship with them. All right, you develop a relationship with them, and then also it allows you to be accountable for your own property. You see, so you have a certain connection with that type of stuff. So if that was you and you lost your sheep, you'll feel some kind of way. Like you would want that returned back to you. So you wouldn't, if that same thing was to happen to your neighbor, he's developed a relationship with this sheep, and at the same time it's his property. You wouldn't go and just take his sheep. So pretty much going back into the point of the law gives us a sense of self-esteem and care, because it's in the scriptures that, hey, we have to abide with our property in a certain type of fashion. So it shows a sense of care towards that particular possession, and the law also goes into a sense of self-care. You see, so you're gonna do the same things for yourself, or you're gonna do the same things that you do for yourself with your neighbor. I actually want to look up a word too. Get this real fast. All right, it says harmony. It says agreement. It says joining. It says joint, to fit together. Agreement of filling. It says concord, so together. Which disharmony, that would be like a divided type of mindset. So essentially, by having that self-care, all right, about yourself, all right, and loving your neighbor as you would love yourself, all right, it creates harmony. All right. And when we go into harmony, all right, that means one. Achad, Bahalashwan Kwadash. All right. Harmony also goes into Ha'awat Ah, the letter Ah. All right. But then also, the Achad, Ah, Wa Alap. All right. All those in Hebrew, they go into Chazak. All right. Strength. That's how you say strength in Hebrew. Ultimately, as a nation, we're able to be in strength more, all in harmony. All right. Which we'll have true harmony in the kingdom. You see, but it starts on this side, rehearsing the rehearsal of the righteous acts. All right. So I'm gonna get this too. This is Matthew chapter 22, and we'll get verse 39, and it says verse 36, it says, Master, which is the great commandment and the law? Yahweh Shai said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. All right, so you got things that you wouldn't do to yourself. You see, so if you wouldn't do it to yourself, pretty much the kindergarten rule is a summarization of this. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, which they really got that from Jake, because that's how Jake supposed to deal with one another. So like they say, treat others as you would want to be treated. That's the kindergarten rule. Treat others as you will be treated, which they got that again from us. That's essentially in our customs. All right, so let's get Galatians chapter 5. We'll get verse 14, and it says, For all the laws fulfilled in one word, even in this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. All right, so you love your neighbor as you would love yourself, and the law gives you a sense of loving your neighbor as yourself, you see. This also is a cut to, people that say, hey, the law is done away with. You see, what a law isn't done away with. The law isn't done away with, we just, the law was a schoolmaster, all right, to get us to Yahweh Shai, all right, which the law is going to be forever. All right, the scriptures say that the law is perfect. Let's get that real fast. This is Tahalyum, Psalms chapter 19. We'll get verse 7. It says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. So it makes wise the simple, those that are simple-minded. All right, so the law is going to abide forever. All right, the thing with the law was that we couldn't keep the law, you see, because us in these bodies are weak, you know. So essentially, that's why we need Yahweh Shai. All right, that's why we need Yahweh Shai, and we also need rest, which we are able to obtain through Yahweh Shai, because in that, you know, we're going to get the kingdom, and we're going to get those perfect bodies, you know, so that we can keep the law. All right, because going back to this quote that I had read in this book, pretty much dude was like, in order to have a orderly society, divine law must be in effect. Roughly paraphrasing, you know, so that's what's ultimately going to give us harmony. All right, so I'm gonna get this too. This is Luke chapter 6. We'll give verse 31, and it says, and as ye would that men should do to you, do ye also to them likewise. All right, kindergarten rules, so to speak. Get this in the NLT, and it says, do to others as you would like them to do to you. All right, so you're going to have that sense of respect. You're going to have that sense of dignity with somebody else. You're going to have that sense of love, because that's ultimately what love goes back to. Ahab or Ahaba, Baha'ai Baryat. All right, which is Ahaba, that goes into love in Hebrew. All right, so let's get this too. This is because we pretty much touched on the point of Shawapat Yam Judges chapter 5, and we'll give verse 11. It says, they that are delivered from the noise of the archers in the places of drawing water, there shall they rehearse the righteous acts of the Lord, even the righteous acts towards the inhabitants of his villages in Yasha'Allah. Then shall the people of the Lord go down to the gates. All right, so it essentially starts on this side with the rehearsal of the righteous acts, you see, because the elect is being gathered together, all right, and becoming one. And one essentially goes into harmony. All right, that in Hebrew, Baha'Allah Bayat, in the alphabet, all right, goes into strength. When we become one, all right, we're strong. You know, going back to this real fast. Let me get this. This is Yahweh Dayath, Judith chapter 5, and we'll get verse 17, and it says, and whilst they sin not before their power, they prospered, because the Most High that hated iniquity was with them. All right, so we prospered when we wasn't sinning. All right, we had strength when we weren't sinning. We were one when we weren't sinning. All right, when we were all together, all right, essentially we were prospering. All right, when Jake was all in one mind, the Lord was with us. You see, but when we started to become divided, and Jake started doing off stuff like that, and we became destroyed. You see, as it's going to say, verse 18, it says, but when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore, and were led captive into a land that was not theirs, and the temple of their power was cast to the ground, and their cities were taken by the enemies. You see, so that's essentially that's essentially what occurred to Jake. You know, Jake was start dabbling in idolatry. You know, start committing adultery and stuff like that, and taking on the ways of the heathen. You know, and then we became weak. All right, verse 19. But now they are returned to their power and are come up from the places where they were scattered, and have possessed Yarashalam, where their sanctuary is, and are seated in the hill country, for it was desolate. Now, therefore, my Lord and Governor, if there be any error against his people, and they sin against their power, let us consider that this shall be their ruin, and let us go up, and we shall overcome them. But if there be no iniquity in their nation, let my Lord now pass by, lest their Lord defend them, and their power before them, and we become a reproach before all the world. All right, so when Jake is together, when Jake is in harmony, Jake is one, Achad, all right, essentially that shows strength and it shows power, because the power that's behind it is the Lord, Yahweh Bahasham Yahweh Shah. You know, the Lord is with us, and he essentially ensures that we're good. You see, so that was, you know, in the past. You know, on this side, which is going to be much more in the kingdom. You know, we're going to be stronger in the kingdom. You know, we're going to be one in the kingdom. All right. So I'm going to get this. This is Yashaya Isaiah chapter 26 and verse 9, and it says, "Yeah, with my soul have I desired thee in the night. Yeah, with my spirit within me will I seek thee early. For when thy judgments are in the earth, the inhabitants of the world will learn righteousness." All right, so when the law is in effect, when Yahweh Shai is in rulership, hey, the inhabitants of the world is going to learn righteousness. That's essentially what keeps this creation going. That's what keeps everything going. Shalak. Righteousness makes everything, move as it's supposed to, All right, I'm going to get this. This is Yashaya, Isaiah chapter 52 and verse 1. It says, "Awake, awake, put on thy strength, O Zion. Put on thy beautiful garments, O Jerusalem, the holy city, for henceforth there shall no more come into thee the uncircumcised and the unclean. Shake thyself from the dust, arise and sit down, all Yerushalayim. Loose thyself from the bands of thy neck, O captive daughter of Zion." And essentially what makes Jake no longer captive. All right, becoming one, repenting, putting on the scriptures. All right, the beautiful garments. All right, not that strange apparel. The beautiful garments is what gives us strength. That alap. I means strength. Much increase is by the strength of the ox. You see it, and it's spiritual that the ox in Hebrew is alap. Alap also goes into and achad. Pretty much going into one. What makes Jake strong is being one, being in harmony, and essentially subscribing to Yahweh Shai is essentially what gives us that harmony to where we can essentially have that driving factor to show true love to ourselves, so that we have that picture in mind when it comes to treating our neighbor. All right, because the Lord say he speaks in similitudes. All right, this is Hawashah, Hosea chapter 12 and verse 10. It says, "I have also spoken by the prophets and have multiplied visions and used similitudes by the ministry of the prophets." You see, so loving ourselves, we have a picture of what we supposed to treat our neighbor. All right, we can picture us treating ourselves well in the law and the scriptures. All right, and essentially we have a picture of how we need to treat our neighbor, and that's essentially what would link us together. All right, believing on Yahweh Shai is essentially that driving force, what allows us to love our neighbor as ourselves, because it's going to push forth those good works, so that we can make it, into the kingdom. Adawan Ratazah, So, just wanted to go into that, Adawan Ratazah Zabanaya Paluzo. There's a beautiful edification through the spirit. Wa Adawan Ratazah. Atham Yashiyawam Tawabe. Lord's will, you have a good day. Wa Shalom Lakam, which is peace to you all. While Yalak Tahayak Adar, which is go be great. Shalom.